So let's bring this up here. We'll talk about this right away, and then we'll go on from there. Marvel Comics writer Steve Orlando admits comic book sales are struggling, predicts his Scarlet Witch series might get canceled at 10 issues. And he has already deleted this tweet. Fortunately, people screenshotted it, so the internet lives forever.
Yep, you're looking at it. JEC, this is what's in the top 10 at Marvel right now. This.
Yeah.
This looks like DeviantArt fan art.
There we go. In a now deleted tweet, Orlando tweeted, sales are struggling alongside the whole industry right now. We'll hopefully get to 10. So he's saying that the Scarlet Witch sales are struggling. And then he's saying, obviously, alongside the whole industry, meaning the entire industry is struggling. And he says to get even 15 issues, sales will need to continue to climb. So I guess the implication there is that the sales are somewhat going up. That is probably not true. I don't think that there's any implication of sales going up. Usually you see sales peak at number 1, and then they drop like a rock in subsequent issues. It's usually like 30% declines a lot of times, and then maybe it stabilizes around issues 7 and 8.
Well, the thing we have to recognize, too, is that the collector market is much different than what it was back in the day. Collectors collect on rarity now. Believe it or not, the rarer the book, the more expensive it is. It's not a lot of nostalgia attached to this stuff anymore. The NFT market and that sort of thing really reshaped how collectors are viewing this physical media. So any comic you own that's preserved in perfect quality is now very valuable simply because it's a comic book. And so that's what drives a lot of these issue 1s is the collector's market that wants to get that slabbed as fast as possible so that the oxygen doesn't hit it too long.
Yeah, and the comic companies know this. That's why they reboot their series all the time, even though they continue to fail constantly. Sub 30,000 issues in sales. Just really, really bad. I remember I had to like look this up to get it accurate, but I remember what's his name? Ta-Nehisi Coates' like Captain America run quickly went south very, very quickly after its first couple issues. That's usually what you see. You see these runs start off maybe doing like 100,000 plus sales on an issue 1. It's down to like 70,000 or something like that by the second issue, and it continues to taper off like that, and then maybe stabilizes around that 30,000 mark. And that's when we actually had the Diamond numbers. They don't even do Diamond doesn't even report sales anymore. I was looking at Comic-Con today, and they haven't since April 2022. Nope. So we don't really have any way to really track any of this stuff or see any of the real numbers, but we do have ICV2 has a thing called Comics Hub where they do work with a number of retailers, and they submit what books they have actually sold to people. So, but we do have another tweet here before we get to that. This is Orlando. He's talking to this guy who's saying comics are crazy expensive now. I'm all in on manga, which is much more affordable. And Orlando says, I'm with you. Not that prices are up. Not that prices are up to. We're in up to me. Sorry. We're in a weird spot where folks in general keep wanting a higher and higher production value and paper quality, which is part, but not all of it, of course. I'm not really sure that's true. I don't know if people really do care about, I think people don't want like newspaper level quality. I think there's something to that, but I don't know if they really want super high quality paper and the gloss and stuff like that. I'm not sure that that's actually true. I think people would still buy the stories if they were actually decent.
So here's the difference, okay? A manga artist in Japan makes about $58,000 a year USD, all right? And the average salary of a of an American comic book artist, let me just look this up. It is, it's around the same cost, right? It's around the same situation. However, the mangaka in that translation is getting like 4 or 5 times the value of that money, right? So that 53,000 coming into them, that is a massive amount of money in Japan as far as like USD goes, okay? So the spending power of that goes a lot further. So what he's explaining here in this situation right now is that the cost of producing the book is outweighing the ability to compete with manga on the ticket cost, on the the buy-in. That's what I know what he's saying. Explain here.
No, I get what he's saying, and I think that's true, and I think they've done that to themselves, right? Because I'm saying from a consumer standpoint, people don't have a problem with with buying the manga volumes. Is,
and they're on newsprint.
The top 20 adult graphic novels that ICV2 reports, there's only one Western title on there, and that's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Last Ronin hardcover. Yeah. Everything else is either a manga or a manhwa, and no one has any issues buying that. They don't have any problems buying that. And those are also not even done they don't sell them like they sell DC and Marvel comics. They're not single issues. They're sold in volume. So they're sold in graphic novels. So you have a collection already going out there, and it's usually 5 or 6 in the collection, which similar to how they do trades here with DC and Marvel and Image and whatever. But they're not selling usually single issues. From what I understand, they still sell them in like what Marvel and DC used to do, where you got Flash comics and you got 7 or 8 different stories in one magazine. And they still kind of do that, I feel like, over there. Obviously, a lot of it's digitized now. It's all digital, and you can just read the issue of what you want, the episode of what you want or whatever. But that's the issue. But yeah, so I don't think that there's really... So he's saying here, too, he says... folks in general keep wanting a higher and higher production value. So I'm not sure if he's talking about the companies wanting that or the consumers, because I'm not sure that the consumers really want that. And I think the manga sales prove that people are willing to buy, like you said, newspaper style.
So what comics is trying to transition to is some type of cottage industry where, like, boat builders, they get a lot of money for their wooden boats because they're like the only boat builders that build wooden boats. That's what comics is trying to transition to, is this incredibly niche thing that you've got to pay for high quality stuff. Otherwise it doesn't exist anywhere else. They refuse to step back and say, why don't we just put out like 30 issues of black and white WandaVision, and then we'll go ahead and put a collected trade, a hardcover in full color. That'll be the gimmick to buy the hardcover, is it's in color. You save a crap ton of money. You could speed up releases, and it looks completely native next to manga. Nope.
Yeah,
not gonna do that.
The Japanese kind of do that. I've seen them do that with Dragon Ball. Well, like obviously most of the Dragon Ball stuff is
manga looks terrible in color, though. That's the other.
I'm not saying that it looks. I'm not saying it looks good, but I'm just saying that I have seen them do that. They will colorize some of the early Dragon Ball Z stuff and sell that as well. I have seen stuff like that. So that business model is already out there.
So this is his boss telling him that they have to have higher and higher production costs because they're trying to become wooden boat builders.
Potentially. I think here he's referring to consumers. I don't think he's referring to the suits at Marvel and DC, if you wouldn't even call them. I don't even think any of them really wear suits anymore.
Be lucky to get a polo on any of those guys.
Yeah, but I think he's actually referring to consumers here, and I don't think that his theory pans out, given the fact that we have the evidence of manga not being on the quality paper that these comics are being on, not being packaged like the comics are.
He could be talking about the collectors. The collectors may want a higher end product. That could be
maybe, but even then, they're not the one. Like, yeah, they might give you the brief boost on the first issue, or if you introduce some kind of weirdo character in some issue or something like that.
Well, then do it. Make issue number 1 this slam bang Alex Ross level thing, just knocks it out of the park, and then suck the color out of it in the next issue.
Well, I think that they kind of do try and do that. Obviously, not with not with colors, but they do try and boost up these number ones, and then these number ones. They don't carry the series because they die out, like he's talking about here. They die out within 10 issues because no one's actually reading it, no one's buying it, because they've ruined their entire brand. They've driven their consumers away with poor storytelling, on top of propaganda stories that are literally trying to indoctrinate you into disordered and immoral lifestyles. And then they're trying to sell that as a virtue. And then if you decide to if you decide to express any kind of like, hey, this is wrong, I don't like this, stop doing this, they then come at you on Twitter or whatever else, or even in the comics. We've seen this multiple times. They will make a point to come at you in the comics. They literally insert you into the comic and will lecture you, deride you, denigrate you, hate on you, do all these kinds of like evil, vile, nasty things to you. And then they expect people are going to keep Yeah, they think people are going to expect you to continue buying this slop. No, absolutely not. And it's finally catching up to them that their own hubris, their own pride, their own arrogance, their own sin and despicableness has caught up to them, and people are just tired of it and are moving on.